You ready?
I'm ready.
I'm gonna cancel it.
Okay.
You sure?
Yeah.
Thanks for giving me a ride.
Hey, you bet, buddy.
Hey, well. Hey, welcome to this week's episode. I wanted to take some pictures out in Joshua Tree, and I was hitching a ride in the stranger. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Hey, again, welcome this week. I am here with a really good friend of mine, John. He has a photography business called JPS Photo Art, and we are heading out to Joshua Tree this afternoon to try to catch sunset photos together, and so I thought we would do a vlog on it, and I wanted to introduce you to him because he is a very talented photographer, and he's got some really not only great photography, and I'll show you some of his photos from this trip as well as other photos that he's taken as well. I'll show you that at the end of this episode, but I thought I would ask John some questions so you could get to know him, because he's got some pretty good things going on in the city that we live in, of how he's getting his art out there and getting some exposure. And so John, why don't you say hi to everyone and maybe tell them a little bit about your photography journey.
Okay, man. Well, thank you. Thanks, Jason, for letting me be a part of this with you. Looking forward to getting out to Joshua Tree. My photography journey actually is very short. I've only been doing this for 4 years.
Wow.
And I've always loved sunsets. And so for perspective, like my wife and I spend a lot of time at the beach, and I'd say, can we watch the sunset? And she's like, yeah. And so we go, and as soon as the sun went down, she's gonna start walking. I go, wait, the sky's gonna change colors. And so even before I was in photography, I loved that. And so it was always kind of a thing for me to try to capture it on like a phone camera. And I got a couple of good pictures that I really like, but they just made me hungry to do a better job, really. And I was getting ready to go on a major trip and decided to go just buy a little entry-level Canon T5i Rebel. Started taking pictures, and really just very quickly got involved in like what I call, YouTube University, learning about photography and editing and all that stuff. And I just started eating it up. It just really resonated with me, and I had no idea that I would have a passion for photography, but I really do. And so now, 4 years later, yeah, it's been fun. People started asking me, hey, do you ever sell your stuff? And I'm like, well, I'd never thought about that. So then we started selling stuff and wound up with a website and just making connections with people and trying to get it out there to where if people liked what I was doing, I wanted to make sure that it was possible to get it in their home or their office, their cabin, wherever. So that's kind of the quick story of how I got into it. But more recently, where we live, I've got a couple of restaurants that have asked me to put some of my work in their restaurants, and there's a new one just opening up where I get an entire wall, which is basically like 24 feet wide by 6 feet high, and they want it all to be framed fine art prints instead of like canvas or metal or anything else. So I've been working with them on that, and hopefully they'll open up in another month or so and we'll have that started. So I've already got some samples ready for them. But the idea is that people can buy it right out of the restaurant, and we'll do some meet the artist days where I'll take in some other prints and just have them available, and people can meet me. And it's a chance for me to kind of help push local businesses that I care about in our valley, which, wherever you live, COVID has affected us. Mm-hmm. And especially it's hit our local businesses, and especially restaurants, really hard. And so whatever I can do to help them is good, but then it helps me too, just by making more connections that way. So
well, let me ask you, because that's a really good idea. So what would you encourage those that are watching and they're trying to grow their photography business as well? Because I know my wife and I went to this really hip cafe in town, and I hadn't talked to John for a while, because we've been friends for at least 6 years now. Yeah. And do lunch quite often. But I saw his artwork on their wall, and I thought, oh, he beat me to it. I didn't even think about it actually, but but until then I'm like, oh, John. But it was really cool because it was neat to see your art on display there. But what are some action steps you would maybe encourage guys to take who maybe might want to pursue that? Because you gave some great ideas.
Okay. Well, the first thing is you can't be afraid of no. Like it's just like anything in sales. You know you're going to get some people who say no to you before you ever get a yes, right?
Yeah.
So that particular coffee shop, cafe place, they already had things on their wall, and I just went in and asked the owner one day. I said, hey, would you be interested in maybe giving me one of your spots, and I could do this, and then we could sell from it. And so we just started the conversation, and immediately he just said, absolutely. He goes, wow. I know I've been watching your work on Instagram and Facebook, and I would love to have it in here. And so then we just kind of talked about that. All of this happened and then COVID hit. And so it hasn't had the traffic that I'd wanted. We've just sold a couple things out of there. Yeah. But one thing I do know, that when people see that, then maybe they pick up a business card, maybe they make a connection with me some other way. So if you're really, after selling something, I'm looking just for ways to network. I don't expect to sell right away.
Yeah, that's a good attitude.
And just try to kind of build those connections. And then when somebody says, hey, I need something for my cabin, and I think I remember a guy's shot from that mountain area,
Yeah.
So it may not happen right away, but if you're willing to just
seeds.
Put some inventory up there and just let it stay there, and then maybe change it up every now and then. Plant some seeds.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and that was another thing. I know that you and you have to remember. I was blown away. I'd forgotten that your journey really started 4 years ago. Some of us has been doing it a lot longer than 4 years, and to hear when you see his work, you'll understand. He's very talented and gifted, and I'm glad the camera finally captured you.
Yes. I see what you did there.
Yeah. But I know that you also you got some prints up in some businesses or was it some cabins up in the Idlewild area? I remember that.
Yeah. So again, it's about connections most of the time. Like one of my friends that I ride mountain bikes with owns a really nice place up in Idlewild, and they have 20-some cabins. It's beautiful. It's called Idlewild Inn. If you ever want to check it out, it's a great place to stay. And they have rooms, they have duplexes, they have cabins, they have the whole, you can pick whatever your family needs. Mm-hmm. And I asked him if I could sell pictures in his lobby. So just take 8x10s, 11x14s, and he says, we already have a bunch of that. But he says, why don't you just show me what you mean? And so the next time I rode with him, I took a few up, and he's like, wow, would you mind if we started putting these in our cabins? And I'm like, no, I don't want that. I said, yeah, that'd be great. So we wound up, I think, over a period of about a year and a half, we put pictures in, I think, almost all of their cabins now. I think about probably 18 to 19 of their cabins. And so I literally have people who have stayed in a cabin and who send me a message via Instagram, Messenger, or something. They get or email or something, and they say, hey, we were staying in this cabin, we saw one of your pictures. So that was kind of cool.
That is very cool. And is that something that you find, have you sold any art that way? And for you, I know even for myself, it's always a blessing anytime somebody buys our art, but I think it's just a blessing to get our art out there and have people appreciate it as well.
Yeah, it's an honor. It's kind of humbling when people do want to make a purchase and put that in their home. It's like, so I always like it when they send me a picture then of it in their home.
Yes.
Try to share some of those sometimes, like on Facebook or something. Yeah. But so from the cabins, I have no idea if we've sold any more from those. Like if somebody saw that, went on the website, bought some, I don't know if that was the connection or not. But for me, it was an opportunity to, so some more exposure, more people get to see it. You never know where that goes. And one of my thoughts was, I have pictures in a doctor's office too. Same thing. I just happen to know a doctor. He's not even my doctor. I just know him. And we were talking one day, and I said, hey, can I show you something? And I showed him one of my prints, and he's like, wow. He goes, can I buy some of those for my offices? I'm like, no. Yes, you can. So we worked that out. So it's like, it's just about conversations.
Yeah.
I don't even have time to tell you all the no's I've gotten, but
Yeah.
that's still fine. Because a lot of times they say, that's not what we want to do, or we're not going to go that direction. But you never know personally, that person might say, but I liked what it was. It doesn't fit our business, but I liked it. So you never know where that's going to go. So just have the conversations and make some friends.
And I think for all of us, for you who are watching, for all of us, we all get people who are interested in conversations with us just because we have camera gear, and for some reason camera gear is just a conversation piece for so many people. And in a recent episode I did, one of the things that going along with what John is talking about, I did a simple episode on why I have a business card for my photography. It's not so much that I'm trying to gain business, although it's a blessing to do that, but it's more because I just love networking, and I want to have something concrete to give to people, because you never know when that individual might have a friend that owns 30 cabins up in Idlewild.
Right.
And speaking of Idlewild, if you've never been there, it's just such a beautiful place. It's San Bernardino National Forest, or right next to it at least, right?
Yeah.
But I'm going to put some pictures. There's a little lake that I know I have been to a couple times and got some pictures that I just love, but John's got some really great stuff too, so I'll make sure I show you those. In fact, I'll put those on right now, so you have to send it to me, because I'm going to put it on right now.
I can do that.
But it's just a beautiful place to hike and get out in nature and take photographs as well.
I'll tell you a quick thing about Lake Fulmer. I just found it a few years ago. I was already starting the photography thing. I had lived in this area for 30 years and had never even knew about this lake.
Wow.
And it's just like, I love the little town of Idlewild, and it's about 10 more miles down a road that I ordinarily wouldn't go. So I just never saw it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was literally doing a photography scouting trip, and I drove out to over the mountains, down to the desert, back up a different way. And when I came that different way, I just about slammed on my brakes when I saw this little lake. It's right by the road, and the reflection is just like, the water's still, the reflection was perfect, and I just found like this new little mountain lake that I go to it regularly. It's just, I love this place.
And speaking of Lake Fulmer, I'm going to ask you a question about it. When I went there, it was literally magical. I'll show you a photo of what I'm talking about when we talk about the reflection. This place is just perfect for sunsets, but I wanted to know, have you ever been there for sunrise, or is it just too covered by the mountains? Because it's kind of sunk down low.
I have not been there when it was good conditions. I've tried a couple of times.
Yeah.
The thing is, because it's so low, the sun doesn't actually hit that area until like 9 o'clock.
Golden hour's over.
When the sunrise might have been at 6:30, quarter till 7. So it's over 2 hours before you really have light hitting some of those trees.
Yeah.
So it's made it tough. If the sky itself would light up because of the right kind of clouds, that would maybe be a different story. But I haven't been there when that's happened.
Yeah, me as well. You mentioned you started out with a Canon T5i. T5i.
Yeah.
What are you shooting now?
So now I have the 5D Mark IV and a 5D Mark III.
Okay.
The 4 is my main camera, and I like to have two with me on a shoot where I'm out in nature, so I can have two different lenses and not have to switch. Take a moment and switch.
Yeah.
And depending on where I'm at, what I'm doing, that would determine which lenses I would have with me. But yeah, I try to have two cameras most of the time with me.
What are your go-to lenses?
24 to 70 is the go-to for just about anything.
Yep.
And then if I need more, I have a 70 to 200. For the less, I have the 16 to 35. So really the nice 16 to 35.
Got the Trinity.
Great, yeah. And I'm kind of frugal, so those are the only three I've got.
That's right.
I don't have a bunch of prime lenses. I would love to, but it's like those are the three that kind of cover everything I need.
All right. That's great. One other thing, I know John does a lot of sunset photography down at the beach because we're semi-close to the Pacific Ocean, and so a lot of his work is centered around there as well. And I noticed that you've been in magazines and other prints through that, and you've been able to. I think I remember you talking about just through interacting with people there, you've got some business as well.
Yeah.
And again, it's that importance of just being. If even for introverted people watching this, you wanna just try to work on engaging with people, and that's one of the things that I know John does well. And so, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I've probably had more connections through Instagram than Facebook, and I have far more followers on Instagram. I just seem to have more engagement that way. Even though it completely frustrates me with all the algorithms, like I'll have one picture and 3 days later I'll use similar hashtags, and one will get like 6,000 and one will get 23, like reach beyond my own followers. So that part frustrates me, but it's through Instagram, aside from face-to-face stuff, that I've really made some good connections. And so somebody usually just messages me and says, hey, I love your work. Do you sell prints? And I have some of that information in my profile, but typically they don't take time to look at that. They just message in, hey, what do you do? So probably my biggest sale of all time was through somebody I randomly met on Instagram who found me.
Wow.
And actually found me because of one of those magazine things.
Wow, that's great.
A magazine posted one of my pictures on their Instagram. This person saw that, followed me, and then found what they wanted and started asking me questions. So anyway, that's...
I literally
it's an Instagram thing.
Just this morning woke up and had that happen to me. So I'm going to be doing
Come on, right there, don't
right
let me
there,
hang it.
right there.
That's good.
I'm going to be doing an episode. I have at least 3 prints that I almost missed, because when I go out and shoot in certain locations, I take a lot of photographs at times, and this was one time where when I was in the Smoky Mountains, I took a shot that became that shot, and it's done well in a couple of contests. It's been published, and so I've been really... In fact, I'm going to be showing you in an upcoming episode I promise I have the subscriber contest coming. I'm counting all the names. I've almost got them all. It's hard to count that many people. But I just found out through Outdoor Photographer Magazine that that image from the Smoky Mountains got published in their Great Outdoors book. So it was in a hardback book. So blessed. But there was another image that I actually like more than that now from the Smoky Mountains. I had sent it into Outdoor Photographer Magazine, and I'll show it to you right now as I'm talking as well. But I sent it to Outdoor Photographer Magazine, and they chose it as a photo of the day. And for their Facebook page, but not their Instagram. So I took the picture and uploaded it onto Instagram and just said, hey, I'm so blessed. Outdoor Photographer Magazine chose this. Well, then shortly, they chose it as their photo of the day. And this is just a few days ago. So I then get a message, a private message from an Instagram account called Visit Gatlinburg or something like that. And Gatlinburg is this... If you ever go to the Smoky Mountains, you have to stop in Gatlinburg. It is the most amazing little tourist town. It's got everything there. It's really fun. So I get this Instagram message from Visiting Gatlin, and they say, hey, can we post this picture on our page? Well, they've got 200,000 followers, and so I say, sure, why not? So literally within 2 hours, I think I was already over 2,000 likes, and now it's been a day, so I think it's up to 4,000 and something, which is blown away, because I just got started with Instagram, maybe 6 months ago. In fact, you were the first guy to friend me, and I'm like, who's this guy? Because it just, I didn't even know it was you. And it took me a while. I'm like, that's John. So I'm retarded with that. But anyhow, this morning, I woke up, and somebody who saw my image off of the Visit Gatlinburg said, how do I purchase this image? And so just getting them connected with that. And so again, there are so many avenues that we can try. I went to a friend's house Sunday night, and we were watching the Super Bowl, and he had another friend there who is newer in photography as well, but like you, he's into birding, and he's just taking fantastic photos. I mean, tack sharp images.
Yeah.
And I was encouraging him, you know, to start getting his work out there and showing people. And he said to me, he said, man, there are so many guys out there that have so many amazing pictures. And I told him that was the exact same thing I said about my image that from the Grand Tetons that I got, you know, some sweet rewards with. I thought there's so many guys out there. I'm not going to enter my work, but you just never know, because art and photography is so subjective. You know, I want to encourage you guys, just as John's doing and just as I do, is get your work out there so that it can get seen, because you just never know the kind of connections that you might find or be given through it. And it's just fun. You know, it's fun to have work that you know, people admire. So I don't know, anything else that we can talk about to encourage one another on this journey?
I think doing stuff like this, I don't mean like a YouTube episode. I just mean shooting with other photographers. Yeah. I've learned so much besides just having fun. I mean, that's what I want to have fun. But I learn along the way, because I see that they do things at a different angle or with different settings. Or it's always fun to kind of learn from other people. Mm-hmm. And then there's kind of that, hey, I want to share the fact that I was with Jason. So when I share my photo from Joshua Tree, or a couple of them, I'll just say, hey, shooting alongside Jason. So he might get some followers out of that. I might get some followers out of his. But it's about relationship and networking and just having fun. So I enjoy this kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So John, before we wrap it up, is there any other type of advice you might have for, I guess we would say, branding our photography businesses? What other things do you do? Because you're killing it for doing this for 4 years. First of all, the images that you're producing are just fantastic. You definitely have a gift for that, but also the marketing side of it is just, I learn things from you all the time. So what are some of the things you do for marketing? Because I know you're not necessarily an MBA per se.
No, for sure. And to be honest, this is not my full-time job. I have another full-time career that I love.
Yeah.
This has been a hobby that's really grown into what I can see. There's potential business there, and so I'll tell you, mistake number one was I thought that if I got a website, all of a sudden people would be flooding to it and buying up my stuff, and I would just be sitting there with a drink and an umbrella like I got it made.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. Like I'm not even totally loving my website, but it's just because it's there doesn't mean people are going to go to it. So there's an entire marketing thing there, like understanding like Facebook marketing, understanding the kind of ads to do and where you could waste your money there. All that stuff I'm still learning. I'm not an expert, but I tell you, I make the most, if I can, of moments like this. If Jason wasn't with me, this is an hour-and-a-half drive just to get to Joshua Tree. Yeah. I would listen to a podcast or two on the way and on the way back about marketing, about business, about, you know, photography marketing in particular. There's a lot of like podcasts and stuff out there, and I'm still kind of trying different ones to find the one I think is going to be really helpful for me, but I always pick up something. And so if I could say anything, it's just keep learning, because it's one thing to be able to make a great image. It's a completely different skill set than to be able to market that and sell that.
Yeah.
So probably most people like taking pictures and making a great image.
Yeah.
We've got to learn how to do the other stuff, but there's all kinds of, like YouTube, but there's all kinds of resources out there in podcasts where we can learn.
That's good to know. I'm looking forward to investigating that myself. I haven't done that, so that's a nugget for sure. And I can say the same thing. You know, I spent a lot of time developing my website. I spent months and hours upon hours getting my website dialed in, and I was thinking, okay, here it comes, and I'm like, cricket.
Yeah.
Cricket. I can't make a cricket noise, but you get what I mean. One thing I do find helpful though with my website is I do get sales, I do get traffic, but is at the end of the year, I always have, I'm into wildlife and landscape photography, so I always sell a wildlife calendar and a landscape calendar off of my site, and those always do pretty well for me, as well as I do sell prints as well, but nowhere near close enough to be able to make a full-time living just from the site. So Hey, we are.
Hey, we're checking in. I got my annual pass right here.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So, all right, John. Well, I appreciate that. That was good advice. Well, I realized that this interview, I got much more than I even anticipated. I hope that you found this conversation helpful, just to get some ideas to encourage you to get out there and really network. That's really the key to getting your work seen and hopefully, you know, growing your business and growing your photography brand. But I know one thing about John, and I know for myself, I try to practice this myself, is and I know you guys are the same ways. You wanna be the best you can be at it. You want to strive for excellence and really learn your craft, learn your camera. And for those of you that already know all of this, you know, just keep going and, you know, help others along that path as well. And that's the networking side of things. But I realized that our Q&A here went a little longer, so I'm going to turn this into two episodes, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up with some of our just some of my favorite photos from John, and I'm going to give you his Instagram account. Be sure to go on and like his Instagram account. I think you also have your webpage linked to your Instagram account, so you guys can go and check out his website as well. But again, thanks for joining me. If you have any questions or comments, please put them below, and I'll be sure to get to that as soon as possible. And I just want to thank you guys. It's such an encouragement to be a part of this community we have here on YouTube. So I guess I'll wrap it up with go out and capture the world.